Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Many of the Florida Gator fans know I am extremely excited about this linebacker room heading into the 2024 season. Not only do you have extremely talented linebackers in this room, but you also bring in a coach in Ron Roberts, who I think is one of the best in the country at developing and utilizing linebackers in a defense. And when you start combining elite talent with guys like Shamar James and Pup Howard with really good development, that is when you start to see kind of it benefit and kind of show itself on the football field. And you start looking to that 2024 year. I am extremely excited about what this linebacker room can be. And I think it starts with linebacker Shamar James. I want to dive into the film of Shamar James, take a look at what he brought to this Florida defense in 2023, and then talk about what it's going to look like in 2024 for a kid that is only going into year 3 of his college football career. I think he's still developing those instincts. I think he's still working on diagnosing what's happening in front of him. But one thing we're not doubting is the athleticism and the ceiling that Shamar James brings to this Florida Gators defense. Really excited to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the Florida Gator fans. It has been a blast taking deep dives into a lot of these young players on this Florida Gators defense, whether it's Jordan Castell, whether it's Kelby Collins. It's been a blast. Cannot thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Shamar James. Now, I think the first thing that I love most about Shamar James, and which makes me so excited for him heading into that 2024 year, is he is exactly what you're looking for in that modern college football linebacker. And you guys hear me use that term a lot to give you a sense of what I mean. When you look at opposing offenses and what they're trying to do, these new offenses in the SEC across the country are predicated on getting the football in space and making opposing defenses deal with a lot of speed on the perimeter. And what that makes you, what you need to have in your linebacker room is linebackers that can operate in space, that can go sideline to sideline, that can hold up from an athleticism standpoint. Shamar James, one of athletic linebackers in the country, in my mind, when it comes to going sideline to sideline, when it comes to going out and tackling running backs in the flat, when it comes to carrying tight ends up the seam, Shamar James has the athleticism to do all of those things. And I think Shamar James has played a lot of football during his first 2 years. Obviously, the injury at the end of 2023 definitely hurt. But I think what excites you the most is now, can you combine all that athleticism for Shamar James with a little bit more instincts in football IQ, which you really only get by getting snaps and playing a lot of football. Shamar James heading into 2024 with over 700 snaps under his belt. I think you are poised to see a breakout year for Shamar James. I want to dive into the film. And the first thing that really stands out when you start watching Shamar James on the film is his ability to go sideline to sideline, right? You look at a lot of different offenses trying to attack linebackers, trying to attack defenses to the boundary. When you have a linebacker that has the speed and athleticism, Shamar James coming out of high school ran an 11.6 in the 100-meter dash. When you have linebackers that can play with that sideline to sideline speed, that means the absolute world for a Florida defense. And you fire up the film, not necessarily always the flashiest plays, but Shamar James, I mean, this is a play that is executed perfectly, right? A little read option, you have a pulling H-back coming around. Shamar James, not only the athleticism to make this block miss and kind of keep himself clean, but the ability and athleticism to go stretch this play out and go make a tackle, which could have gone for probably 10, 15 yards, only holding it to a 5-yard gain. Shamar James makes up for a lot of mistakes in this Florida Gators defense with his athleticism to go sideline to sideline. And you see it all over the film. I thought this Utah game was a phenomenal game played by Shamar James. Another play, and again, this is kind of the definition of how offenses are trying to attack defenses, getting the ball out quick to the perimeter. And when you have a linebacker like Shamar James who can identify and then go sideline to sideline, run with the wide receiver, string this play out, and go make a tackle, those are the type of things that separate elite linebackers. You watch the film, I mean, one, really good instincts. Two, there are not many linebackers that can go out and make this play. Shamar James is one of those guys. I am extremely high on the raw athleticism that Shamar James brings to the table for this Florida Gators defense. Now, the next thing that I really like is what he can do in coverage as well and how he operates in space. You take a look at some more film here. Going back to that Utah game, you can do a lot of different things with Shamar James. You're going to show blitz on 3rd and 21. Utah is going to try to attack this space right there. We want to get the football out to Micah Pittman in space and let him go operate and see if he can kind of pick up that first down. Shamar James, really good field, dropping out in coverage. And then Micah Pittman, this is exactly how this play is supposed to be designed, right? Getting Pittman the football on time accurately in space. The play gets blown up because Shamar James's closing speed is absolutely on another level. This is a guy that is hyper athletic, can close on the football and close on ball carriers at such a high level. Another play that really stood out to me was against that Charlotte game where you're dealing with a very athletic quarterback. And what Shamar James does here, playing that off-ball linebacker spot, is not only does he go carry this running back out in the flat, and running right with this linebacker, staying right in the hip pocket, he also has the ability to come off that running back once real estate runs out and go, as we full screen this again, and then go make that play. Shamar James's ability to go sideline to sideline, not only in the run game, but also in coverage, really gives Florida a lot of flexibility in terms of how they want to use Shamar James. There are certain linebackers across the country that they're good linebackers at the college football level. You can't use them like Shamar James. I think Mike Barrett, as a Michigan fan, Mike Barrett, phenomenal linebacker, going to have an NFL career probably on special teams. Mike Barrett that's not what he's suited for. There are certain things that Michigan just didn't really ask Michael Barrett to do because he didn't have that athleticism in space. Shamar James, there's not really much you can ask him. There's not really much you can ask him to do because of the athleticism and range that he brings as an off-ball linebacker. A couple other things that I really like: 9% missed tackle rate. I mean, that was something that you want to talk about scheme and Florida maybe needing to clean up their scheme on the defensive side of the football. Throw scheme out the window for just a second and say, hey, Florida needs to tackle better at the second level. Shamar James was one of those guys, and when he goes down with that injury, believe a dislocated knee, you saw the tackling from the second level of that Florida Gators team not go in the right direction. Shamar James, not only a ton of range, but doesn't miss tackles in space as well. Last thing I want to talk about is potentially getting Shamar James more involved as a pass rusher, because you're talking about a juiced up linebacker that has the length and speed to really give offensive linemen a lot of trouble blitzing from that second level. You go back to Ron Roberts in his time at Baylor. This was a coach that was elite at getting linebackers as pass rushers, involved in the pass rush. A guy like Terrell Bernard, 8.5 sacks in that 2021 year under Ron Roberts. I think Ron Roberts is coming into this Florida Gators defense. I think he's going to look at guys like Shemar Turner and Pup Howard and say, let's put a little bit more on their plate. We have two NFL caliber linebackers. You make no mistake about it. We got to get them more involved in this pass rush. And Shamar James wasn't necessarily asked to rush the passer a ton on the film, but when he did, he shows a very, very good ability to be disruptive. You take a look at this play, 1st and 10. I mean, we're going to send Shamar James. He's going to get picked up by a running back. Athleticism to really just stay on his feet here, go make a play. You're talking about a linebacker. There are not many linebackers that have that ability. You see it again here, coming from more in space. And again, one thing that stands out is Shamar James's ability to close the distance between himself and the ball carrier at a high level. I'm not normally a fan of blitzing linebackers who are this far away from the line of scrimmage because it takes a while for them to get home. Shamar James able to close that gap in such a fast manner. A guy that goes, breaks up a play, forces a quick throw. I love Shamar James in his ability to get after the passer as well. And you start looking at this linebacker room, I think what I'm most excited for is you got Shamar James, you got Pup Howard, you got a guy like Miles Graham who's already enrolled, you got Aiden Childs coming in the summer. This is a linebacker room that is extremely young, but it's extremely capable. It has a ton of freak show athletes at that position. Can we get them more involved around the line of scrimmage, asking them to make more really game impacting kind of plays? I think Ron Roberts is the perfect coach to be able to utilize guys like Shamar James and Pup Howard at a high level. This is a Florida Gators defense that a lot of people in my mind, are going to write off because it wasn't very good in 2023. You make no mistake about it. What a lot of the casual college football fans, I think, don't really understand is that was a Florida Gators defense that not only had an extremely young defensive coordinator who was really getting his feet wet at the SEC level, it was an extremely young Florida Gators defense, right? A guy like Shamar James was a true sophomore, kind of being that leader of that Florida Gators defense. You take a look at the back end. Jordan Castell started, I believe, every single game for that Florida program. He was a true freshman. This was a young Florida Gators defense that no doubt went through some growing pains. I think you see a massively improved Florida Gators defense in 2024. And I think Shamar James going to play a massive part in it. Really excited about this unit. Really going to continue to dive into some of these young players as that spring and summer roll around. Appreciate the Florida Gator fans. Always rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. And we'll talk to y'all later.